Hey, welcome back to the Cybersecurity Whisperer, your quick, no-nonsense rundown of what's been happening in the world of security. I'm Elliott, and for the next 10 or so minutes, we'll cut through the noise, leave the buzzwords behind, and talk about the real stories shaping our field this week. So let's dive in. We'll start in Washington, D.C., where the Attorney General's office has filed a lawsuit against Athena Bitcoin, the largest crypto ATM operator in the U.S. Now, here's the accusation. Scammers were funneling victims to Athena's ATMs, having them deposit money into accounts they didn't control. Instead of shutting it down, Athena allegedly looked the other way, and worse, they slapped hidden fees as high as 26% on those transactions. Compare that to competitors who charged under 3%. The heartbreaking part, as usual, the victims were mostly elderly, with the median age of 71, losing an average of $8,000 each. As the AG put it, they were scammed twice. Once by the fraudsters and once by the company itself. Now, if this case succeeds, it could set a new precedent on how much responsibility financial intermediaries carry when they knowingly profit from fraud. Next up, Uvalde School District in Texas had to close its doors for a week because of ransomware. Now, they knocked out phones, cameras, visitor management, and even thermostats. Schools shutting down due to ransomware is becoming less rare, but this one it stings especially hard given Uvalde's tragic history. Remember, they were the ones that had the massive school shooting. It's another reminder that operational technology isn't just about factories or pipelines. It's heating systems, cameras, and safety infrastructure. And when those go offline, you don't just lose data, you lose the ability to keep people safe. Meanwhile, across the pond, Jaguar Land Rover is still trying to recover from a ransomware attack that has stretched more than 2 weeks. Production lines are only just coming back online. But here's the twist. Smaller suppliers are going bankrupt because of the stoppage. Losses are already in the tens of millions of pounds, and economists are warning it could dent Britain's national growth numbers. This is a stark case study of ripple effects. When a giant manufacturer gets hit, the pain, it just cascades down the supply chain and in some cases wipes out businesses that can't survive weeks of idle production. I mean, we even saw that with the whole Change Healthcare and some of the downstream companies that went out of business. Let's pivot to something every SOC leader feels. It's alert fatigue. Now, Arctic Wolf released a report this week showing that 71% of alerts across their customer base turned out to be false positives when put into context. Think about that. Nearly 3 out of 4 alerts weren't malicious at all. Things like logging in from an unusual location or tweaking firewall rules triggered alarms, but they weren't attacks. The bigger issue is identity. Nearly 3/4 of interventions involved compromised accounts, which means if your team is still drowning in false alerts, you're not just wasting cycles, you're missing the real story. Identity has been, for years now, the perimeter, and it's where attackers keep winning. Speaking of identity, the FBI, they issued an alert about 2 threat groups, UNC 6040 and UNC 6395, both hitting Salesforce instances. One group used voice phishing, tricking support desks into resetting employee credentials. The other stole OAuth tokens through integration like Salesloft Drift, giving them a backdoor into Salesforce data. Now, victims are already seeing extortion attempts under the Shiny Hunters brand, which has links to Scattered Spider and Lapsus. The lesson here is, look, integrations are powerful, but every OAuth token you issue is effectively a master key. And if you're not watching those closely, someone else will. On the government side, CISA is under fire after a DHS Inspector General report found $1.4 million in retention bonuses went to staffers who didn't technically qualify. Critics say this gives the administration an excuse to kill the program altogether, but inside CISA, employees argue the incentives are the only reason many talented cyber pros stay. And the takeaway for leaders outside the government is, look, money matters, but clarity matters too. If your incentives feel kind of arbitrary, you risk both losing credibility and losing your team. Microsoft's Digital Crimes Unit scored a win this week by seizing 338 websites tied to Raccoon 365 phishing service. This was one of the fastest growing subscription phishing kits used to steal Microsoft 365 credentials across nearly 100 countries, including at least 20 healthcare organizations. Now, the operator was traced to Nigeria. They even rolled out an AI-powered feature called AI Mail Check to scale attacks. Microsoft's move is important, but let's be real. The playbook is out there. Others are going to pop up. The bigger story is that phishing is being industrialized and packaged like SaaS. Defenders need to think at the same scale. If you thought open source supply chain risks just couldn't get any worse, well, here's a new one. Attackers slipped self-replicating credential-stealing malware into dozens of NPM libraries, including Tinycolor, downloaded over 2 million times a week. This malware spread itself across maintainer accounts, harvested cloud credentials, and even backdoored GitHub actions. It's being called a new frontier for NPM threats. The lesson for security professionals is, look, if your developers are still pulling packages without strong controls, you're not just exposed, you're already compromised. Enforce hardware-based MFA, short-lived tokens, and a full SBOM process. On the cloud identity front, researchers disclosed what might be one of the most dangerous Microsoft vulnerabilities yet: undocumented actor tokens in Intra ID. Now, these tokens could be abused to impersonate any user in any tenant worldwide, including global admins, without logging, without conditional access, and without leaving a trace. Now, Microsoft patched it quickly, but the research is a brutal reminder the weakest links are often legacy design decisions. So if your strategy assumes Microsoft, Google, or AWS are airtight, you're just really playing with fire. Finally, let's end with a look forward. At its Falcon conference, CrowdStrike unveiled its agentic security platform and agentic security workforce. It's fancy branding, but the idea is straightforward. Multiple AI agents working together to triage, investigate, and even take action inside the SOC. Now, they're pitching it as a way to keep pace with adversaries who are themselves using generative AI for everything from phishing to coding malware. Will it work? It's really hard to say, but this is where the industry is heading. AI building AI. Defenders racing adversaries in milliseconds. I mean, if nothing else, expect the term agentic SOC to show up in your boardroom slides sooner than you'd like. Well, that's all for this week's Cybersecurity Whisper. From predatory crypto ATMs to supply chain chaos, false positives, and AI in the SOC, the landscape isn't getting quieter. So remember, stay curious, stay skeptical, and don't just chase the shiny tools. Focus on fundamentals, protect identities, and know where your data lives. I'm Elliott. I'll see you next week.